All right. Welcome to the Scottsdale Housing Agency Governing Board. I'd like to start with a roll call.
Chair Lurie.
Here.
Vice Chair Jung.
Here.
Commissioner Jameson.
Here.
Commissioner Scheer.
Here.
Commissioner Cooley.
Here.
Commissioner Hill.
Here.
Commissioner Rowe.
Here.
Chair Lurie, you have a quorum.
All right, thank you. This is a time reserved for public comment. Citizens may address the members of the Scottsdale Housing Agency Governing Board during public comment. It's reserved for citizen comments regarding non-agendized items. Arizona state law prohibits the governing board from discussing or taking action on any item. Citizens may complete one request to speak card per meeting. Public testimony is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. And we have a guest here, Beverly Spires, has completed a card. And I wonder if you'd come up to the podium and speak with us.
I'm sorry, I'm getting forgetful and having hearing problems.
Follow Mary, she'll direct you.
She may have difficulty hearing you, so I'll just stand next to her if I need to explain anything.
Okay, I'm Beverly Spires, and I'm a part of the TBRA program. I'm not as aware of the different parts of the program as I should be. I have sought out to get more information, and that's one of the reasons I'm here today. I thank you, Mary, for helping me. She's answered most of my questions, but I just want to take this opportunity, since my questions have been answered, to say what a wonderful program I think this is. I don't think any of us, when we get to be 80 years old, are thinking that we're going to be in need of help. And I was not seeking help when Jennifer, the social worker, came and said, there's a program that I think would really benefit you. Actually, I was looking for more work. And so that's how I became involved with the program. I hope this is something that's going to be able to continue for other people, but I do have to say that I've been very fortunate with this program because I was renting a condo, and the owner of that condo lives in Minnesota, and she said, I was happy, very happy with renting from her, and she has become a part of this program, so we're trying to figure out now where we all are going to land. And she's willing to do whatever she can if she can still continue on with the program, and I think she would really love to keep me as a renter, and I would love to be in that facility, that area where I'm living, because it's a safe area, and she's a wonderful landlady. So I think that's just about it, but I just basically want to say that I think it's a very good program. I hope it can continue on. And there are some glitches. This probably isn't the time to address that, but there are glitches that at some time I would love to be able to talk about. But oh, okay. One thing, as I said, when I was talking to Jennifer, one of the things I was looking for more work. Dollars needed to be stretched a little further. And with this program, I was allowed to earn $400 a month. And that was the one reason that I hesitated with the program, because for me personally, my obligations, it was going to be very hard for me to get by with that. I think that needs to somehow or another be tweaked, because it's pretty darn hard to find a job for $400 a month. In fact, it's impossible. I'm educated, I even went to Dollar Tree, and they couldn't guarantee me $400. Nobody wants to mess with $400, you know. And so that's one of the things that I think maybe, and then I also think that there needs to be, we need to know more about the program when we come into the program, because I just found out that I'm not a part of, I thought HUD, Housing Choice Voucher, that's it, yes. And I'm not, that's not what this is at all. So I do think that for me, and I've called and asked a lot of questions, but I just haven't got all the information. Maybe I needed a printout. Maybe that's probably what I needed. But anyway, yes, that's basically it. I appreciate the program. I appreciate all you folks are doing. And thank you, and keep up the good work.
Beverly, thank you for coming and addressing us and sharing your comments. For those on the commission, and Mary, correct me if I'm mistaken, I believe that acronym TBRA is Tenant-Based Rental Assistance. And we are slated to get an update from the city about it at our August 14th commission meeting. So thank you very much, Beverly.
Certainly. Can I stay for the rest?
Oh, yeah, that's
Yes.
So moving forward, approval of minutes. Our last Housing Agency Governing Board was on May 8th. Minutes are attached. I wonder if I could get a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve?
Okay, second.
Second.
And a roll call vote.
Chair Lurie,
Yes?
Vice Chair Jung,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Shear,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooley,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Rowe.
Yes.
And then moving forward, the next agenda item is something that's going to be addressed by Mary Witkowski, talking about federal regulations intent to terminate housing choice vouchers. Excuse me.
Good evening, Chair Lurie, members of the commission. Before we get started tonight, I did want to take the opportunity to introduce our housing supervisor to the new commissioners who are on board. We have with us tonight Christina Cooley. You will see her at every single housing governing board meeting. And she has been with the City of Scottsdale Housing and Community Service Assistance Office for the last 13 years. The last 4 as a supervisor of the voucher and family self-sufficiency programs. Before coming to the City of Scottsdale, Christina had 10 years of experience overseeing federal McKinney-Vento grants for Tempe Elementary School District and 3 years as a site director for Maricopa County Head Start. In addition to being the housing supervisor, Christina has served as a board secretary for the Arizona chapter of Housing and Redevelopment Officials for the past 4 years, and in August she will assume her new role as the senior vice president of the organization, and we are excited to have her working for us. And I could give a little background on myself so you guys know who I am. I'm Mary Witkowski. I am currently serving in the role as Housing and Community Assistance Manager for tonight's meeting for Housing Governing Board. And then as we go into the Housing Human Services Commission, I will be serving as the Interim Human Services Director. I have been with the City of Scottsdale for the last 4 years, but I have been a social worker in a governmental setting for over 30 years, working with corrections, coalition-led projects, therapy with autistic children, and most importantly, federal grants for over 15 years. I am a licensed therapist by the Board of Behavioral Health, and I couldn't imagine being anything but a social worker. So with that, we will go into the intent to terminate. So we did receive a few questions or concerns recently regarding our processes and response for our Housing Choice Voucher participants when they receive a notice of intent to terminate. So tonight I thought we would discuss what Chapter 12 looks like in our Housing and Administrative Plan. First and foremost, you will hear me probably speak on federal regulations nonstop anytime I come before you. So tonight's no difference. The Scottsdale Housing Agency is governed by several federal regulations which are listed up on the board. 24 CFR Part 982 is the federal regulation specifically under HUD for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. 2 CFR Part 5 talks about financials And then we also, any changes to federal regulations are provided to our housing agency through HUD through something called a PIH notice, which stands for Public and Indian Housing. So when must the City of Scottsdale Housing Agency file an intent to terminate? I'm not going to read through all of these tonight. There is quite a list up on the board. This is exactly outlined out of our administrative plan, and it follows federal regulations. Some examples of this, to name a few, are if a tenant has an eviction for a violation of a lease, repeated violations of family obligations, or persons who are subject to sex offender requirements or unauthorized occupants within the home, which falls under the family obligations. Some others are listed up here. I know you may have questions regarding what is family choice or family zero assistance. Family choice, people can voluntarily terminate themselves, say I no longer want to receive the voucher. In terms of family with zero assistance, and I'll let Christina correct me if I'm wrong, 6 months without receiving assistance from the Scottsdale Housing Agency, where they are paying 100% of their rent. Once they reach that, then we terminate assistance. On a positive note, because they have become self-sufficient. When we file an intent to terminate letter, so all of our HCV participants, and as outlined in the administrative plan, do receive due process for participants. We send a letter out with intent to terminate. They have 10 days, so they have to request a letter. Once they receive a copy of the letter, from the date of that letter, they have 10 days to request a hearing from the termination letter. And then also contained within this letter is that within 30 days, that's when our HAP, or housing assistance payment, will cease. All HCV participants, as I stated, are afforded due process rights. Due process is meant to be timely, as once the letter of intent to terminate it is issued, it all provides the date that the HAP payments will cease and starts the 10-day timeline for them to respond. There are resources provided by our housing specialist if facing eviction, especially if they're facing eviction and maybe facing homelessness with it. All city resources are provided, as well as legal referrals to community legal services, which can provide legal assistance during those hearing processes. Sometimes these due process can be delayed. They're delayed sometimes at the request of the participant. Because of legal representation or other factors. They may be hospitalized and just need to reschedule it outside of their circumstances, but we do, based on the letter that they receive, the HAP assistance does cease within 30 days of that letter. Please know our third, well, we can go back a slide one more time. The informal hearing process, we do contract with 3 outside third-party hearing officers who have or do have experience in the housing world. All decisions are based on preponderance of the evidence. It is not a jury trial beyond a reasonable doubt. Like I said, it is scheduled within a reasonable time frame. So once the hearing takes place, or during their rights during the hearing, they have a right as a participant to present evidence, both orally and written. They have a right to question any of the witnesses and a right to state their case prior to the hearing officer's decision. Interpreter must be provided at the participant's expense, and they have a right at the end of the process to seek redress directly through the judicial procedures in the court. The Scottsdale Housing Agency does provide evidence in advance to the tenant or the participant and the legal counsel if it's applicable. And that is also vice versa. So if the tenant has evidence that they wish to provide, that is also provided directly to the Scottsdale Housing Agency as well as to the hearing officer in advance. The contracted independent third-party hearing officer then hears the case. I, as the executive director, do not sit on those. As once the hearing is completed, the executive director has the authority to either uphold or overturn the decision of the third-party hearing officer. So the third-party hearing officer is a recommendation, and the final determination is made by the executive director. The housing authority then notifies the applicant or family of the final decision. And then finally, just as a reminder on the next slide, that our housing agency, outside of those who are employed by the housing agency, we are not allowed to provide specific information and details regarding individual hearings, individual cases, whether it is in the media or not. We are not allowed to provide that information under federal regulations. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.
Looking around the room, Commissioner Cooley.
Hi, Mary, thank you. That's very informative. Just something to clear up for me, back on slide 4. Request for hearing within 10 days. If I understood correctly, then if they don't respond for that or ask for that hearing within 10 days, payment will cease in 30 days?
Correct.
So if they were to wait until the 10th day, they would still get the 30 days?
Yes, they have 10 days to respond from the date of the letter. And it states in the letter that they receive, and Christina, I know we're going into the minutia.
Sorry.
She knows the, no, that's perfectly fine. Christina knows the minutia, I know the overview. So they receive the letter, they have to respond to us that they want a hearing within 10 days. Inside the intent to terminate letter, it says that we provide a date that HAP assistance will be terminated if they fail to respond, or if they do not wish to have a hearing. So they are provided a date in which assistance will be ceased. So if they don't respond within that 10 days, the HAP contract just terminates.
And if they do respond, does that 30 days shift, or does it stay
It does
fixed?
not. It stays exactly the same.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, Mary. As most of us are aware, there was an issue highlighted in the media a few months ago that I think brought a lot of attention to the challenges associated with this process. Referring to your last slide and the fine print, are we able to ask questions about that specific issue, which was a matter of wide public awareness? Are we able to ask you questions about that?
Chair Lurie, members of the commission, I'm not allowed to ask or answer specific questions regarding specific cases. I can provide general answers in a what-if scenario would occur. So if...
Okay, then maybe thank you. I appreciate that, and I kind of figured that was the answer. In the context of a what-if, hypothetical, in reviewing all of the details associated with a particular case, is there anything in the context of this hypothetical case that staff would have or could have done differently?
Chair Lurie, members of the commission, you need to be more specific in your question.
Well, I really can't if I can't ask specifically about that particular issue.
Chair Lurie, members of the commission, could you just ask the concern regarding the case without stating the case?
Yeah, my concern is the way the matter was framed for all of the world to read. It sounded like this family got a raw deal. And so my interest and concern, and I'm somewhat frustrated that we can't talk about a specific case when the entire readership of the Arizona Republic has already reviewed it and discussed it. So that's my concern is, as a member of the Housing Board, I'd love to know if we did right by those tenants, or if there were some issues that we learned from that case that will help us in the future.
Chair Lurie, members of the commission, I can give you an example of an incident in which a case is overturned, which means that the hearing officer decided that the Scottsdale Housing Agency's intent to terminate. We didn't have enough evidence, and they overturned it. In those instances, if the housing director would uphold that decision, then the tenant or the HCV participant would receive their voucher. They would be reissued a voucher. In order to be reissued a voucher, they do have to come into the office. Then if a tenant per se is issued a voucher and wants to port and no longer wants to stay in the city of Scottsdale, then there it is on the housing participant, thus the word choice inside the program, to find their own housing into the new jurisdiction that they may or may not wanted to have ported into, which involves working with another housing agency, could further delay circumstances in which that person could lease up.
That is a perfect answer, and very articulate, and I get you. And thank you for answering my somewhat vague question. But I have one more question, and that is regarding the hearing officer. Is it within the purview of the hearing officer in the case of an eviction for the hearing officer to pass judgment on whether the reasons for the eviction were valid and just in accordance with the terms of the lease?
Chair Lurie, members of the commission, no, it is not. That is up to the judge in the court of law.
So in effect, that's a private relationship then between the tenant and the landlord, and that then becomes more of a civil matter, not something we can help adjudicate or address through our hearing process.
Chair Lurie, members of the commission, you are correct, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Jameson, did you have a quick comment or question?
Thank you, Roger. Yes, Mary, good details here. I want to back up a little bit into the process in terms of the intent to terminate letter. How much leeway is there if the tenant happened to be out of town, hospitalized, just didn't recognize the letter for what it was, or language issues, and within that 10-day frame, is there any actual human contact from the city to the tenant to say, hey, your time is running out?
Chair Lurie, members of the commission, prior to receiving an intent to terminate, there are instances in which the housing specialist has had mandatory counseling sessions, has discussed their violations of the family obligations. If they would be facing an eviction, it is not a surprise to the participant that they may be facing intent to terminate. They are well versed prior to receiving that letter. That letter is mailed, certified. It is also emailed out of courtesy. And should someone be in a hospital or be out of town, we do provide reasonable accommodations based on verification of information. So if someone were to state, I've been in the hospital, I didn't receive this letter, all they have to do is provide some kind of verification that they were actually hospitalized or received services of an emergency nature by a medical resident, and we would provide an accommodation.
Good. Well, the operative words there, it's not a surprise, and I understand there needs to be some leeway, so thank you for that answer.
Thank you, Mary. What number of cases get to hearing?
Chair Lurie, members of the commission, I'm going to have Christina Cooley answer that question. She looked it up.
Like per year, for example?
Chair Lurie, members of the commission. Sitting down here, I thought that question might come up, so I took a really quick look. We did have 11 hearings last year. Of those hearings, 2 were overturned. 1 was actually upheld by the hearing officer and then overturned internally due to other extenuating circumstances.
Okay, super, thank you.
One final question from my perspective, and that's in the event of a termination such as the one that happened that was reported in the Arizona Republic, I know there's caseworkers at Vista del Camino, at Paiute, at the senior centers. Is there a transition to a caseworker to intervene and provide assistance to that family to provide or identify other remedies or other places to live?
Chair Lurie, members of the commission, referrals are made directly to human services centers as well as nonprofits and legal assistance.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I don't have another question. I appreciate the information you provided, Mary. I really do. And some of this is super technical, but there's a human element associated with it. And I think our staff does an incredible job of dealing with the human side of what is a really bureaucratically driven, challenging federal process. And I thank you very much. And what I have gleaned from this, in addition to, you know, the skill of the staff, is that when our clients go through the Housing Choice Voucher Program and are able to secure a lease, that it is so vitally important that they are incredibly fastidious about the details in that lease, and they don't just skim over it and sign it. I think that's a lesson that's incredibly important for all of our clients. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, and thank you, Mary and Christina, for being here and presenting on this difficult topic. We are now at the point, if any of you have future agenda items you want to raise, not for the commission, but specific to the Housing Agency Governing Board, now's your opportunity to raise those. Looking around, I don't see any, and so I would ask for a motion to adjourn the Housing Governing Board.
Seconded?
Okay, and a roll call vote.
Chair Lurie, who is the first motion? Because our person is electronic. It is Sheila Rowe, for the record, for who's taking the minutes. Thank you. Chair Lurie,
Yes.
Vice Chair Jung,
Yes.
Commissioner Jamison,
Yes.
Commissioner Shear,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooley,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Rowe.
Yes.
We are adjourned for 3 minutes. Afternoon and welcome to the Human Services Advisory Commission. I'd like to start with a roll call.
Chair Lurie,
Present.
Vice Chair Jung,
Here.
Commissioner Jameson,
Here?
Commissioner Shear.
Here.
Oop, this one's got outdated information. Commissioner Cooley,
Here.
Commissioner Rowe, and Commissioner Rowe.
Here.
Commissioner Hill. Here. Chair Lurie, you have a quorum.
Thank you. This is a time reserved for public comment. Citizens may address the Human Services Advisory Commission during this time. Arizona state law prohibits the commission from discussing or taking action on items not on a prepared agenda. And testimony is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Do we have any comment cards? Okay, all right, so moving on. Our last meeting was held on May 22nd, 2025. And could I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So move it.
Second.
All right, and a roll call vote, please.
Chair Lurie,
Yes.
Vice Chair Jung,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yep.
Commissioner Shear,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooley,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Rowe.
Yes.
So item 2 on our agenda is something I've been greatly looking forward to for a couple months, and that's an opportunity to welcome our 2 newest commissioners, Commissioner Rowe and Commissioner Hill. And I'd love for us to take a few moments to go down the line and introduce ourselves. And Commissioner Jameson, Jeff, could I ask you to start?
Jeff Jameson, live near Sweetwater Ranch, North Scottsdale. It's my 4th year on the commission. Prior to this, I spent 6 years on the Human Relations Commission, so I've been in service to the city quite a while. Semi-retired, I'm currently working at Lowe's in the garden shop, which is very healthy and fun, but spent 35 years in the human services trade. So, or human resources and nonprofits. So this is where I belong.
Very good. And we'll just go right down the line. Commissioner Rowe?
I'm Sheila Rowe. I've lived in Scottsdale for 34 years. I am a retired accountant, and I'm delighted to be part of this organization and see how we can help our fellow Scottsdalians.
Okay, welcome, Sheila. Mary?
My name is Mary Jung, and I work at Honor Health. This is the beginning of my 2nd term on the Human Services Commission and the Housing Board. And I'm also involved in the community in a number of different ways, including one of the local nonprofits called Partners for Paiute.
And I'm Roger Lurie. This is my 2nd term, and I'm 1 year into my 2nd term, so I've got a couple years, and then I'll roll off, I believe, about the same time that Commissioner Jameson will. And it's really been an honor. I started getting involved in human services 9 years ago when I retired from full-time work at Arizona State University. And by the way, I still work at Arizona State University part-time doing consulting work, but I came to Vista del Camino to do career coaching and started learning about all the opportunities to get involved in the food bank and back to school. And like Mary, I also serve on the board for Partners for Paiute and actively volunteer at Community House, which is a day relief center in Scottsdale. And Commissioner Shear.
Thank you. Neil Shear. I have lived in Scottsdale for over 40 years and have dedicated most of my professional life. I'm currently retired, but I've been in community management for 42 years, and 32 of those years were here in this building with the city of Scottsdale, and a few of those years were in human services. So during that time, I literally fell in love with the important work that our staff does on delivering human services, and found it to be, of the maybe 8 to 10 jobs I had at the city, the most rewarding of all. And so I'm in my second term on the commission, and look forward to working with you both. We have a great group, and welcome.
Hi, I'm Cindy Hill, and I am also very excited to be here. I have worked in nonprofits for 24 years. I actually run a nonprofit myself, which is Arizona Leos, if anybody has heard of that, working with the police officers and the children in need, and do a lot of work in South Scottsdale. I live in South Scottsdale. I've lived in South Scottsdale for 29 years, and so I'm very familiar with a lot of the issues that are going on in our community. My mother is also living here, and so I'm also now familiar with a lot of the senior centers as well, and what is going on in our senior centers. So I look forward to really learning more and being a part of everything. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Lee Cooley, I'm a 10-month veteran, so if you got any questions, just ask me. No, but seriously, looking forward to finishing up my first year. And by day, I'm a Director of Marketing Communications for the Scottsdale Realtors Association. I also am staff liaison for the Housing Opportunities Committee. Moved here to be 20 years next year to work for Make-A-Wish Foundation, and then Valley Youth Theater, and now, then Arizona Arizona Realtors Association, and now Scottsdale Realtors Association, because it's such a shorter commute. Thank you.
Every time we do this, I feel like I learn a little more about each of you, and sincerely want to welcome Sheila and Cindy to our commission. And I think we've got a panel up here. I think it's a great opportunity for you all. Mary, I know you introduced yourself during the Housing Governing Board, but it would be great if we just go down the panel for introductions.
You bet, Chair Lurie. I actually was prepared for that this evening. And it was part of my presentation, so if you want to hold off, I can do it as part of the Human Services Strategic Plan, or I can introduce everyone and read their backgrounds.
Why don't we just roll right into that? Just one other point I want to make before you proceed, though, is we do have a birthday in the room.
That was going to be part of tonight, too.
Okay. Well, I let the cat out of the bag, but it is Jessica Rapp, who is the manager for the Granite Reef Senior Center. It is her birthday today, so happy birthday, Jessica. All right, and let's proceed with your presentation.
Good evening, Chair Lurie, members of the Commission. I did ask all of the Human Services managers to write a brief bio, so I thought I would have them wave and I would read their bio for you. So the first one is Sue O. There she is. She has been in social services for over 18 years. Before coming to the city of Scottsdale, she worked for the state of Arizona at Child Protective Services and Adult Protective Services. She's been with Scottsdale for the past 10 years. She started at Vista del Camino as a caseworker with the CAP office, which stands for Community Action Program, and then in charge of the special programs such as Back to School and Adopt a Family. She's helped build the homeless programs that we have today here in the Scottsdale, and she is currently the manager of Vista del Camino, which includes our Community Action Program, our food bank. We have recreation programs at Vista del Camino, and homelessness. Up on the top, who is running our screens tonight, is Eugenio Villafane Munoz, also known as Gene. Has been with the city of Scottsdale for over 28 years, spending the first 22 years actually at Vista del Camino, where he began as a caseworker, and during his years there, he also held positions of operations supervisor and eventually became the manager. After his tenure at Vista in 2018, Gene assumed responsibilities for both Granite Reef Senior Center and Via Linda during the pandemic and its emergence from COVID restrictions. Since 2024, he has only been managing Via Linda, and I shouldn't say only, Via Linda Senior Center to oversee the current bond-funded expansion. Next, we have Jessica Rapp, and as you know, tonight is her birthday, so happy birthday, Jessica. She has worked for the City of Scottsdale for 26 years, and most of that time has been with Senior Services. But she's also worked at Vista del Camino as the Food Bank Coordinator and in Parks and Recreation overseeing El Dorado Park and its leisure education. She is a Scottsdale native and loves serving the community she grew up in. Next to Sue O is Deanna Owens. She is currently a Human Services Manager for Paiute Neighborhood Center, and she has been with the City of Scottsdale for over 6 years. Her previous experience, she's been a Social Services Director for over 15 years, and 10 years of those were in accounting as an accounting manager. She does hold an MSW from ASU, and she is also licensed by the Board of Behavioral Health. We do have a fifth manager who unfortunately couldn't be with us tonight. Her name is Christy Hahn McDonald, and she oversees Youth and Family Services. She has worked for the City of Scottsdale for 25 years in the capacity as a caseworker at the Senior Center, a supervisor at the Housing Officer, and a Human Services Manager both at Paiute and now Youth and Family Services. She is also a licensed clinical social worker, and she also manages our Mayor's Youth Council. So with that, do you have any questions for the staff, other than they're fantastic and they're amazing? I will have Chad introduce himself.
Okay.
I just want to comment that I appreciate what all of you do for the city, the residents. Really very happy to have you here and available. Thank you.
All right, with that, I'm here tonight to give you an overview of our Human Services Strategic Plan. In your packets, you will find an updated plan that is color and also adds on element 4. So this plan that I'm going to show you tonight actually has 2 things missing under number 4. So I had the color printed version provided in your packets, which shows the updated. So for those of you who don't know, the vision of the Scottsdale Human Services is to engage, enrich, and empower. The City of Scottsdale's Human Services Strategic Plan was developed through an inclusive and comprehensive process, prioritized by community feedback and engagement. The process began with a community questionnaire which garnered over 1,645 responses. Additionally, our department held 19 in-person focus groups, including 4 sessions with our employees, the city's most valuable resource, alongside consultations with a wide range of community stakeholders, which included Human Services Program participants, nonprofit partners, Scottsdale Unified School District, faith-based organizations, individuals experiencing homelessness, the Spanish-speaking community at the Paiute Neighborhood Center, HOA groups, elected officials, and the Human Services Advisory Board. Based on all of this feedback, 5 strategic goals have been identified to guide the future of Scottsdale Human Services from 2025 to 2028. The 5 goals, as listed on the program: increasing awareness of our Human Services Department, having highly skilled, motivated, and productive employees, enhancing and expanding our senior services, creating a volunteer program specific to Scottsdale Human Services, and strengthening our collaboration to improve service to Scottsdale's vulnerable populations. With that, the first strategic goal, each of our goals are assigned to different managers to achieve. Goal number 1 is assigned to, and the ones listed up here are a little bit different than the ones listed on the screen that I just read. So the goal number 1 with regards to senior services is assigned to Jean and Jessica. Goal number 2 is volunteers, in creating a human service specific volunteer program, and that one is assigned to Deanna Owens. Number 3 is in regards to our skilled employees. Employ and maintain a highly skilled, motivated, and productive workforce. This is assigned to Jessica and the Human Services Director. Goal number 4 is supportive services for vulnerable populations, which include collaborating with community partners to improve service and self-sufficiency to vulnerable populations. This one is assigned to Sue and myself. And the 5th goal is to increase awareness of Scottsdale Human Services. This is assigned to Christy. So under each of the goals, you will find some of our strategies to address these goals. And I'll just kind of give a high-level overview of each of them. Number 1, under senior services, we want to complete the Via Linda and Granite Reef Senior Center's bond project. So the expansion for Via Linda kicked off, and it is currently in the design phase. The Granite Reef Senior Center project is currently paused while we do some additional research on adult daycare services. We will expand, increase awareness regarding dementia-friendly initiatives, improve our networks, and access to healthy meals. For creating a specific volunteer program, secure approval and formalize a human services volunteer program, and engage and recruit a diverse volunteer base. Deanna has taken great charge in this and is currently working with our volunteer coordinator, whose name is Brandon Chapman, and we are rolling out an electronic way for our volunteers to apply, to track our hours, and to sign up for shifts. That will be coming to Human Services with a plan to kick off in September of 2025. Number 3, skilled employees and employ a highly skilled, motivated, productive workforce. You'll hear a little bit about some of our next steps at the director's report tonight, but we want to invest in training in our staff. Foster employee engagement and retention. This was one that really spoke volumes during our focus groups with our employees. They really wanted to receive more training, and we want to make sure we keep those who are currently employed here. Number 4, with regards to strengthening our working with our vulnerable populations, the majority are related to Vista del Camino. The final 2 that are not listed up on the screen, but are on the pretty version that's in front of you, are in relationship to Housing and Community Assistance Office. So there is collaboration. While Housing and Community Assistance is within Human Services, we are considered a separate division by the budget. But we all work together. We are all one team. So it is specifically called out. And the last one is to increase awareness of our Human Services Department through media, number 1, and also through engagement with our nonprofit and faith-based organizations. We did have a strategic plan meeting with all of them and kicked off, showed them our goals. And I know Christy's been hard at work with regards to doing quarterly meetings with our nonprofits and faith-based groups, providing some updates as we get going. That concludes my presentation regarding the strategic plan, and I am open to any questions that you may have.
Mary, thank you for the overview. I think it was really important to bring us all on the same page with regard to the strategic plan. And I really applaud the leadership, the city leadership for initiating this strategic plan last year and driving it forward. I am holding a draft copy of our agenda for the year, our calendar for the year, which I do hope will get distributed to all of the commissioners. But I believe we are slated for, looks like January 22nd, to get an update on progress towards the strategic plan. So with that, I'll see what questions or comments.
Thank you. Mary, just one quick comment or question rather on 3.3 strategy. Under the goal, skilled employees, it says improve human services data management collection process. Is that relative to those employees or in their function of their job?
Chair Lurie, members of the commission, yes it is. As we collect data and employees are required to enter data consistently and through a standard process in a database called HSCAMS, as well as to ensure accuracy of that data. So to ensure that they're provided additional training with regards to standard ways to communicate so that information is shared and distributed throughout human services. So if someone is served at Vista, someone over at the senior center can type their name into the database and see, hey, this person has all received assistance. We don't want to duplicate it over here. And so adequate training and keeping them, the importance of collecting data.
Excellent. Thank you.
Looking around, other questions or comments? Yes, go ahead.
Just a comment. Thanks for the presentation, Mary. When it comes to skilled employees, you know, the objective is to ensure this department attracts, retains, and invests top talent. Just in the bios you read, I was extremely impressed with the longevity of the staff here, 20 plus years, and that's certainly to be heralded. Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Mary. And I think that brings us to Chad's presentation regarding the funding process. For Commissioner Rowe and Hill, I know this will be, I'm sorry? Mysterious. It is a very essential part of our commission every year, reviewing grant proposals for Scottsdale Cares, for CDBG, general funds, and so forth, and making recommendations to City Council on the distribution of those. It's quite a bit of reading and quite a bit of time to evaluate the proposals and rank them. We had a meeting amongst the commission back in May where we brainstormed and talked about some possible improvements in the funding process. And I think the city has heard that and is going to present on that now. So Chad?
Thank you, Commissioner Laurie. I'd like to welcome new commissioners Hill and Rowe. And it's not quite a bit of reading, it's a lot of reading. So just keep that in mind. So my name is Chad Booker. I'm the Community Development Supervisor at the Housing and Community Assistance Office. As of next month, it will be my 15th year with the city. I started in the Housing Community Assistance Office as a housing rehabilitation coordinator. So I ran our housing rehab programs for approximately 12 years. Towards the end of the duration of that, I was project manager and I ran public facility projects that were funded with federal funds. Then currently I moved into the supervisor role, so I basically supervise over our funding process, our housing rehab programs, our TBRA program, and also we inherited the Operation Fix-It program. So I don't have a long bio, but I'm working on it. Okay, so today's agenda, we're going to review the funding process as a whole and go over proposed implemented changes based on the feedback we received in the meeting back in May. We're going to start off talking about the calendar of events, then we'll move into our NOFA, which is our Notice of Funding Availability / we'll also discuss our applicant orientation. Then we'll go into our funding priorities and funding caps, the actual application itself, our scoring tools, scoring done by the commissioners, and then scoring done by staff. So the funding process kind of kicks off today. So I like to see it as our Human Service Commission and our funding process kind of run the same as our fiscal year, so we're kind of kicking things off right now after our summer break. So our plan is to release the notice of funding availability in late August. The notice of funding availability is almost in line to a solicitation request for a request for proposals, if you want to look at it that way. And we'll release that in late August, and then our applications will open up in our portal to our agencies on September 9th. And then we will be holding our application orientation on September 8th. I do encourage all commissioners to try and attend that. There's some really good feedback, and we will also allow time for anyone from the commission to speak to the applicants as well. Deadline for submission of the proposals is October 17th. And then during that time between the 17th and the 5th, staff will review all the applications, come up with any questions we may have for the agencies, and we'll send them out to the agencies, and the responses are due back to us on December 5th. And then January 8th kind of starts the hard work for you guys. That's when we will have our initial orientation presenting how to score the proposals, how to utilize the softwares, and also provide you with the actual proposals at that point to start reviewing. You will have an opportunity to ask questions to the agencies, and those questions will be due to us on January 29th. So you'll only have about two and a half weeks to kind of go in there and get any questions you have, so we can get those out to the agencies and get those responses back to you as quickly as possible. Scoring in neighborly from the commissioners will be due February 19th. And then our informal funding recommendations meeting on February 26th. I would like to note that we have modified this meeting to more of a work session where you guys will be able to discuss scores, scoring criteria, individual scores as a group. There will be some boundaries within that meeting, what you can and cannot discuss, but you will have an open discussion. You will be able to see everybody's individual scores. And after that meeting, you will have a 24-hour window to potentially change any scores you have. If you do change your score, you will have to provide some comments on why you changed your score, so make those available to the public so we can still present this in a way of a procurement process. And then after that, formal funding recommendations will be on March 12th. So this year with the NOFA, we are going to put an increased emphasis on attending the applicant orientation to our agencies. There's a lot of valuable information that we give there, and I feel there's a lot of agencies leaving stuff on the table because they're not attending these meetings. And a matter of fact, we're going to make it mandatory for CDBG proposals that they attend the meeting. And we're also going to reformat our NOFA because prior to this, the application orientation was mentioned at the bottom of the NOFA, kind of buried in there. We're going to put that on the top of the NOFA. It's going to be the first thing they read, and then we'll go over the rest through there. So the hopes are we get more people at the orientation and they're more educated on what the city's looking for in our proposals. Funding and priority caps, this has not changed much since last year. We still are putting an emphasis on collaborative proposals for CDBG. Funding cap for that will be $40,000 for a single proposal and then $80,000 for a collaborative proposal. And the funding priority for this funding source will again be homeless supportive services and shelters. Scottsdale Cares, again, basically remains the same. Funding cap is $20,000. We will have the Mayor's Youth Council participate again if they are willing. And we will also continue with the 100% funding only to the agencies in this funding source. And the priorities, again, are to address emergency housing assistance, crisis case management, vulnerable populations, seniors and disabled, and positive development of youth. General funds, we will again have a cap of $20,000 with the 100% funding award only, and the priorities for that are emergency housing assistance, crisis case management, and vulnerable populations. SRP MIC hasn't changed as well, and that will all go towards senior meals, either on-site or home delivered. And then endowment, again, we are going to ask the Mayor's Youth Council to participate in the scoring for endowment as well. SRP and endowment, we don't have the funds yet, or we're not aware of how much we can make available yet, but as soon as we know that, we will move forward. So applications, we have made several changes. Hopefully you guys like them. First and foremost, we're going to change the actual order of the application, and we're going to switch funding program section with the program-related information section. So basically, you're going to get to read about the program and what they do and what they're trying to do prior to getting into their scope of work and budget. So you'll have an idea what's going on prior to going through their budget and everything else. And then also, if a proposal mentions use of a city facility, they must include a letter from staff or facility or department stating that an agreement is in place or will be. And another new one is most agencies must submit a current IRS Form 990 with their proposals, and those will be available for your review during the evaluation process. Continuing with the evaluation or applications, this year we are going to require that the applicants submit a sample client exit survey with their application submittals. And during the performance period, we are going to request, we can't do it this year because we're already under contract, but the following year, we're going to request exit surveys for every client served to be submitted with their performance reports that they submit when they go for reimbursement. And as we collect those performance report or exit surveys, they will be included in our next funding process in the proposal packets for each agency. So you guys will be able to read and review the exit client surveys and will help score and demonstrate capacity in their ability to serve clients. Okay, and then another new section, I don't know the center managers know this yet, but we will be reaching out to them and asking them to outline basically what are their needs and shortfalls with their programs. And they're going to provide us responses, and we're going to include that in the proposal packets for you guys to review as well. And then there will also be a new question added to the program-related information section, which will state, outline your agency's involvement in the Scottsdale community over the last year. So we're trying to get a grasp of how much they are working in Scottsdale and what are they doing to help improve Scottsdale, especially if they're an agency that's not located in Scottsdale. And that will be reflected in one of the questions in the scoring. We're also going to provide a revised scoring tool, which will include additional details on where to look in the applications for specific questions. Commissioner Cooley has come up with a scoring tool as well that is very similar to the scoring tool that we used to use. So the new scoring tool will almost look like what Commissioner Cooley has come up with. And it's basically the one that we're using in the past, and we'll just provide a little more detail on where to look to answer specific questions. We have a historical data and demonstrated capacity form that we put in the packet for each agency. The previous version showed awarded funds over the last 3 years and the numbers served as it related to their goals. What it didn't show was funds expended. So we are going to add that to that form. So you'll be able to see if someone was awarded $40,000, potentially maybe they only expended $20,000 in that period. So it'll give you a little more ability to know what their rate of spending is and if they're actually using the funds that are awarded to them. And then the new form, I kind of got ahead of myself on the last slide, but the other new form is the feedback from our center managers on what their shortfalls and needs are at their center. Scoring for commissioners. As with last year, we will have a condensed section, and each section will be scored as a whole. It will include a new scoring scale with descriptions, so everything's going to be 1 through 10. And we're going to detail what deserves a 10, what deserves a 9, what deserves an 8, all the way up and down the board. We're also going to set a predetermined threshold of what a certain score, if an agency scores at a certain level, that they don't move forward to the informal recommendations. So I want to say 70, but based on the changes we're making, we don't know exactly what the final score will be, but we'll have a line. And if they don't achieve over that line, they're not even going to be in consideration for funding recommendations. Okay. In the top priorities section, previously you would score just based on priorities, a 1 through 10. That question is going to be modified. Formerly it said, does the proposal address a top priority? Now it's going to say, does the proposed activity address a funding priority and meet the current needs of the community and human services? So it'll give you a little more wiggle room in there to kind of get that quantitative versus qualitative area that you guys are looking for. Staff scoring will also be revised. There will be an emphasis on proposal I wrote it, I can't say it, applicability to the funding source. So is it actually meeting the funding source? So we are going to look at that very closely and weight that a little more on the staff side too. And of course, all of our scoring will be included in the proposals that you review. And then there will also be an option for a 5-point bonus for collaboration with city staff, human services, and/or collaborative proposals with other agencies. Wow, that was fast. Okay, I'm open for any questions. I can also explain in detail further for any of the new commissioners exactly how all these funds work and where we get them from and how they're to be distributed, and also the regulations that follow certain funds too.
So Chad, I'm going to start by saying that I brought along a piece of paper with bullet points from our May meeting identifying the improvements we wanted to make. And I proudly say that I checked off every single one of them. This is my 5th year through this process. Could I say my 5th rodeo? And it has improved every year that I've gone through this. Starting, I think the first year, literally, it was, do you want to go into SharePoint to read the documents, or do you want them printed? Do you want a binder this thick to take home? We have moved significantly from there, but I think, I don't just think, I know what we're doing this year is a major leap forward, and I just applaud your work in this. And in particular, the idea that managers are going to help provide information on where the gaps are in their centers. Where are the needs at Paiute? Where are the needs at Vista del Camino, at Granite Reef, Via Linda, and so forth, is really important and really vital, and will enable us to be much more effective at what we do. I'm going to shut up and open the floor to you. And I know Commissioner Cooley has created a very good model. Last year was his first year through this. And he felt like he needed a more objective way of evaluating the proposals. And I believe in the packet is a copy of his spreadsheet.
Yeah, good luck reading it.
I'm sorry?
I said, good luck reading it. It's tiny, tiny type. But that's okay. I was just tickled, Chad. Thank you so much. I didn't want you to have to go back to the time machine to pick an old tool up, but if it's going to work and help at least me and maybe some other folks connect the dots between the applications and where it channels in through the funds, that's great. Thank you so much. That's huge. If I could just ask a few questions, they're benign, I promise.
Please do.
Okay. On slide 4, the applicant orientation, how long does that usually take? And is there an opportunity if one of these agencies can't attend for whatever reason?
Chair Laurie, Commissioner Cooley, members of the commission. Yes, there is an opportunity to see the presentation afterwards. It will be via Teams, so we'll record it. We post it on our website. We also post the actual presentation from the applicant orientation on our website as well for review. To go back on a response to know how to say this, but when we put the NOFA out, we have an interested party list. We get calls all year long wanting to be added to the list. We also have the collection of people that have already been funded that are on our list, and we blanket that email out with the NOFA, and we also post it on our website. So you guys are free to direct anybody to our website saying, hey, there's a NOFA out, go take a look. This is what we're planning to do for this funding cycle.
That's huge, thank you.
And the orientation typically is no longer than half hour, 45 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, very good. On slide 8, applications, we had some discussion, I thought, perhaps back in May. Outline your agency's involvement in the Scottsdale community over the last year. Seems like there was talk about, and this may have been in my head, whether somebody, an agency necessarily worked within the city or with city residents in that what they may do on the adjacency of the city can benefit the city by eliminating homelessness within the city by addressing it through services outside or adjacent to the city. I don't know if this necessarily precludes that, but I just thought I'd bring it up.
Chair Lurie, Commissioner Cooley, members of the commission. They'll have, in my mind, if they're crafty enough, they can fill out that question to provide the details that will benefit them.
Very good. And again, thank you for the scoring tools. I so look forward to seeing that. I can't tell you. Thank you very much.
We're just going to take yours and put our name on it. So that's good.
Very good stuff, Chad. Appreciate all the retooling here. When it comes to the bonuses on slide 11, bonus points will be provided up to 5 points for collaboration with city staff, Human Services Center, and collaborative proposals. Is that during the NOFA process or historically? How do you determine the collaboration with city staff and Human Services Center if this is a brand new proposal from a new agency we haven't funded?
Chair Lurie, Commissioner Jameson, members of the commission. We can rely on staff or human service managers if they have had a presence in any of our centers. Also, if they are proposing to have a presence or assist in any of our centers, that would also trigger a bonus. And it's up to 5, so, you know, it could be a 2 or a 3 depending on the level of, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
This is great. I concur with the chair and appreciate you hearing us over the course of, you know, each of these campaigns we go through. Thank you so much, staff, for improving it on an incremental basis each year. So I have a few, they're kind of scattered, but I wanted to, some are questions, some are comments. But maybe piggybacking on what Lee brought up, is there something in this scoring process that will cause us to favor a Scottsdale-based nonprofit, or are we focused predominantly on serving Scottsdale residents no matter if they are based in Tempe or Mesa or Phoenix?
Chair Lurie, Commissioner Scheer, members of the commission. So in our staff scoring, we have a matrix that we come up for the priority scoring. And one of the scoring credentials is it based in the city of Scottsdale? And they do get additional points for being based in the city of Scottsdale.
Okay. I'm not going to quibble with that, but to me it doesn't matter. I mean, the problems we deal with, as we've discussed, go way beyond our city boundaries. And so if an agency is doing great work serving Scottsdale residents and they're based in the East Valley somewhere, relatively convenient to our residents, I don't see a distinction there that just because they have a physical address in Scottsdale doesn't mean they're superior to a nonprofit that doesn't. But maybe I'm in the minority on that, and I'm not gonna.
Commissioner Scheer, I failed to mention in that, within that matrix is also, maybe they're not based in Scottsdale, but they operate in Scottsdale.
Okay.
So there is a
Okay, a
defined
little bit
difference
of
in
a-
that, because we do
Okay.
have agencies that have trouble documenting they're serving Scottsdale residents when they're not in Scottsdale.
Yes, yes, I get it, and I understand, and as I go through it in my own mind, I'm thinking about transportation and the convenience of being able to access the service and where's the service provided. So that's more important than where they're actually located. Chad or Mary, do we know at this point how much money we will have to work with in each of these 5 funding categories?
Commissioner Scheer, members of the commission, we're pretty certain on CDBG. I'm not ready to divulge it yet, but the Scottsdale Cares, SRP, MIC, and endowment, I believe they're going to be very similar to what they were last year.
Okay, very good. Oh, I know this, I couldn't read my own notes. There's a lot in this that I really like about us getting feedback from staff. The one thing that I feel like is a missing piece of information for us at a timely point in the process relates to other contracts that the city is involved with that do not come through the commission. Some of those, Sue, you administer. So it would be helpful for us to know, to the extent we have information, if some of the funding associated with those contracts is maybe in jeopardy or has been reduced to the point where there may be some potential service impacts, because that will help me understand the relative importance of how I score some of these services through these, for these various nonprofits. So I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, but we've got multiple funding tracks going on, the stuff that comes through us, the stuff that staff uniquely deals with, and at the end of each one of those services, somebody's getting the benefit of a service from us. So the extent to which we can be plugged into that, if there is a positive or a negative or a neutral as relates to those services, it would be extremely helpful, because those are good things that are happening out there that we care about. And the last thing I will say is you will all be very pleased to know that I am off this long-term issue of not rewarding 100% of the dollars for these agencies. I'm waving a white flag. I have failed to get adequate colleagues. However, I may reserve the right to work with Cynthia and Sheila through the course of the year for next year's funding cycle.
But only Cindy and Sheila and not the rest of us.
The rest of you have not seen the light to date. I'm not counting on it.
Mary?
Yes. Thank you for this. It's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to this process this year. Question on vulnerable populations. So one of the things that I was challenged with before, and I think it's been addressed, is if we receive a proposal for, say, a clothing closet or clothes for, donated clothes for working people, will you automatically eliminate that proposal because it's not addressing a vulnerable population, seniors, disabled, and positive development of youth? Or are we still going to see that proposal?
Commissioner, excuse me.
Because I'd rather not see the proposal if it doesn't even meet if you're in fact defining what vulnerable is here. Are we going to see that proposal or not?
Commissioner Laurie, Chair Laurie, Commissioner Jung, members of the commission. When we review the proposals, if we find one that doesn't meet the criteria in the funding source they presented, then we will contact them via our human services evaluation and say, are you willing to move into this funding source because you're not meeting the criteria here? Or if it's not meeting any of them, that will be a response in the human service evaluation. The question will be, how are you meeting any of these priorities? And they'll respond back to us. And then from there, we can determine if they can move on or even stay in the process. They could also, if somehow they sneak through, obviously their scoring is going to show that and most likely be under that threshold to where they're not even going into the
Okay, because, job seekers or those that need clothes could be considered vulnerable.
Yeah.
But I'm understanding the staff's review will define vulnerable as seniors, disabled, and positive development of youth.
So those are kind of two different categories. Yeah, go for it.
Chair Lurie, members of the commission, that would fall under emergency assistance,
Okay.
not vulnerable population, seniors and disabled.
Okay. Or, well, I'm looking at Scottsdale Cares, emergency housing, crisis case management, vulnerable population.
It is part of crisis case management. They could arguably make a case for crisis case management to become self-sufficient through the use of clothing.
Okay, got it, for job hunting, okay, got it. Thank you very much.
I think the other variable there will be that we're also going to get some feedback from the managers at the centers as to whether this fills a gap that they have. So, for example, clothing related to work for people that may be looking for a job. At the Career Center at Vista del Camino, they do have a closet with clothes. So while it may be a perceived need, when the managers evaluate it, I think they would also see that it's a need that they're already fulfilling.
I appreciate that, and I very much take the staff review very seriously, being given your expertise and hands-on work day to day, and to Neil's point, wanting to make sure we fill the gaps for what you see as needs in the community. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? So one of the reasons, and typically our first meeting in the fall is not until August, and one of the reasons I wanted to have this meeting is that NOFA is going to come out in late August, and I wanted to make sure we had an opportunity to discuss this as a commission and provide feedback, which I feel comfortable that we've done. Mary, will we, I'm going to state that differently. Could we get ISOL to send out specifics on the application orientation session that will occur on September 18th to the commissioners in case we need a notice of quorum?
Chair Lurie, members of the commission, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Do we need a roll call vote?
Chair Lurie, yes, sir. You need to either approve or disapprove the recommended changes.
Okay, so a motion to approve
I make a motion to approve the recommended changes.
I second.
and a roll call vote.
Chair Lurie.
Yes.
Vice Chair Jung.
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson.
Yes.
Commissioner Shear.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooley.
Heck yeah.
Commissioner Hill.
Yes.
Commissioner Rowe.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Lee, I think you forgot to mention in your introduction of yourself that you're the comedian of the group.
And that brings us to the director report. So for Cindy and Sheila, I believe once a month, we will have a director's report. And Mary, you're up.
Chair Lurie, members of the commission, are you tired of hearing my voice yet tonight? So I will provide the director's report this evening. What is currently been happening in human services? All right, next slide. I'm excited to come before you, and I have welcome and introductions here, but we did do it a little bit earlier, so I'm going to skip over that. But I definitely want to start talking to you a little bit about our brown bag program. So our brown bag program was at Granite Reef Senior Center as of August 7th. This will be moving over to our food bank over on McKellips. We are piloting a trolley ride to provide that transportation with our transportation department. It'll kick off at 9 a.m. And it'll go from Granite Reef Senior Center all the way to the food bank for those seniors who have to pick up a brown bag, and it will also be available for those who have an appointment to pick up a regular food box at that time. So we are excited to start this pilot project. It's kicking off. We're going to look at the data and the numbers for the first month to see if we will continue, but we are excited to give it a try and get things moving forward. The next thing on our agenda is the back to school event. Our back to school event is scheduled for July 30th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Pima Elementary School. Currently, we have over 900 students that are enrolled to receive these backpacks and other items. On that day, we have our partnerships with Scottsdale Community Partners, NOAA Health Screenings, First Things First, Scottsdale Library, the Scottsdale Unified School District Nutrition Office and Community Specialist, and Skechers are some of our sponsors and will be there at the event. We cordially do invite the commission to attend. We will receive an invite so that we have a note. We need to know if we need to put us in notice of a quorum. The mayor and council is also being invited. You guys are welcome to stop by, get a tour, and see how the family back to school works. I will even be there. It'll be my first time. I'm super excited to participate. The Community Action Program. So there are some changes that are currently as part of our strategic plan. If we want to go back to serving vulnerable populations, one of those goals that were mentioned there is to change the process on how applications are reviewed and submitted, stop the backlog, and make sure that people who need emergency assistance are receiving that assistance in the time frame so that we can prevent homelessness, prevent eviction. So with that, the CAP office has followed suit with Maricopa County, and any cases that are not assigned within a 2-week period, and I am going to, if we need to get into the minutia at the end of my director's report, I will turn that over to Sue to talk more about it if you have specific questions. But if those cases are not assigned within a 2-week period, and cases are assigned determined based on capacity and workload of staff that are currently there, they're closed out, and then they can reapply. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not going to get help. It just means that someone who submitted a paper application can come in and re-sign the paperwork, and it'll be resubmitted and re-reviewed. If they've submitted electronic application, they can call Maricopa County, and it can be re-put back into the system right away. They're now processing applications. I'm happy to report that are only 2 weeks old. So this process of closing out the cases every 2 weeks actually is making the difference, and people are getting services quicker. While it is a little bit confusing, as long as we are providing open communication and reasonable accommodations, it is showing some improvement. And we will continue, I know Sue will continue to monitor it along with Liz, the supervisor. The next item is our Mayor's Youth Council. The Mayor's Youth Council received over 40 applications, and they held 3 weeks of interviews. It is one of the most competitive rounds, and the Mayor's Youth Council will officially kick off on August 4th this year. Next item is the Paiute Park bathrooms. This project has been a long one in the making. It began with our CDBG COVID funds that we received in 2021, and I am happy to report that those bathrooms are installed and working at Paiute Park, so we no longer have inoperable bathrooms. So I don't think anyone's more excited than Chad, because he's been managing that project for 4 years. Fall programming. We have fall programming kicking off at the Paiute Neighborhood Center in September of this year. So we are super excited to get community programming back at the Paiute Neighborhood Center. And then in alignment with our strategic goal with regards to retention and employed and skilled employees, we are kicking off some customer service training. Jessica Rapp will be leading that training along with library services, September 16th, 17th, and 18th. So it is one of our training opportunities to meet in our strategic goal. Next, in true Kira fashion, I want to show pretty pictures to make sure you guys can see what's going on at our centers. So the senior centers had ice cream socials this summer. Granite Reef Senior Center held theirs on July 2nd, and Via Linda Senior Center held theirs on July 10th. Of this year. They were very well attended, as you can see, and I can personally attest to the ice cream was delicious. Next up, we continue to have Vista's Family Friday recreation events. During the fall, we had over 121 participants. This summer, we have open rec night, as you can see on the far right-hand side. Well, my right-hand side, probably no, it is your right-hand side. Some relay races and sack races. And then we also had a cooking event in kitchen safety where kids got to decorate their own chef's hat, make pizzas and Rice Krispies. So you can see it's kid tested and approved right there in the middle with the thumbs up. And the last one, the Vintage Voice, is continuing to go strong. It is now a video podcast that you can watch on Channel 11. Our fourth episode is our FINE, Fixing What Matters, our housing rehabilitation programs out of the Housing and Community Assistance Office. Up here you will see Reese in the black shirt, who is talking about Operation Fix It, which is helping seniors on the outside of their homes with their landscaping and code violations. And then in the center we have Armando Oliveras, who is our housing rehab coordinator, and he is talking about our emergency repair program, our roof replacement and repair program, and our major housing rehabilitation. Our next episode will be focusing on seniors and parks and recreation. And that concludes the director's report.
Thank you, Mary. And just a footnote about the back to school, any of you that want to participate, I will personally be there volunteering from 12 to 2:30. Are there any items of discussion?
I just wanted to make a comment. It's as you were able to, I think. I just throwing it out there, if there was an HSAC race, Human Services Advisory Commission race, that would be kind of cool. And I did want to compliment Jessica. That last Vintage Voice was great. Thank you for co-hosting. It was huge. I really appreciate it. It's great information.
Okay, so moving forward, this is the opportunity to identify future agenda items. Again, I will mention that I do have a tentative calendar for the year. Mary, if we could get that sent out to all the commissioners, that would be great. August 14th, we're slated to get an update on the Family Resource Center, TBRA, the Tenant-Based Rental Assistance Program. And then we also talked about an update on Continuum of Care. And then August 28th, currently funded application presentations, accomplishments fiscal year 24-25, and a director's report. I won't go any further with just reading this, but are there any specific agenda items in the near future we want to address?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It may or may not need to be an agenda item, but it will be, I think, an agenda item with the City Council. I was just curious about the Scottsdale Cares recommendations. Is that coming back to us? Is that going this fall to a council meeting.
Chair Lurie, members of the commission, it is scheduled to be discussed with Kira at my next one-on-one to see if we want to bring it forward. I do have a tentative item on in a late September meeting, so I'm going to talk to Kira about potentially doing that in late September with the same item
And it looks like
Maybe.
it's on this calendar for October 9th.
as an update, yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
And where would it be without me asking something else? At one point, I think we talked about getting an update on the shower trailer. I know it's working. I'm excited. That's great. But I don't know if we have to circle back on that just to...
I saw it at Vista del Camino last week. Sue?
Yes, I'm happy to say that it's working where all 3 stalls are open and functioning, and they've been in high usage this summer. Yes.
Very good news. Anything else? In that case, a motion to adjourn.
So move.
In a second?
Second.
And a roll call vote.
Chair Lurie.
Yes.
Vice Chair Jung.
Yes.
Commissioner Jamison.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooley.
Yes.
Commissioner Hill.
Yes.
Commissioner Rowe.
Yes.
All right, we are adjourned.
Hold it. There is a 7th commissioner that was left out there, I think.
Oh, I forgot Commissioner Shearer. My apologies. Whoops.
How quickly
Okay,
they
just for that, I'm going to bring up the 100% funding at the next meeting. That's a yes.